Hello, everyone. I'm Tu from Hopeful Builder, and welcome to the Perspective Live. Our pleasure to have the Force for Good author, Anara, Kelly Mabel, and David Five joining us for the live talk today. Would you please to introduce about you and what you do?
Sure. My name is Kelly Mabel, and I have a business that supports people in awakening their understanding to possibilities and intelligence and who they truly are. And my job is to provide space and conversation as a coach and a facilitator to allow my clients or my learners to see more of who they truly are so that they can execute the results that they really want. And my company is called Kind Mind Academy, and that's what I do.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks to.
Anara, would you like to introduce a bit about you?
Yes. I am a soul coach, and I also enjoy opening up space for people to find who they are in a way, looking at some of the pieces of themselves that they might have left behind in the past, going back and finding those places. I do some parts work, and as people get unstuck, they notice a greater sense of being able to connect with themselves, a greater sense of being able to connect with others in relationship. I'm very passionate about conscious, connected relationships, and I believe the foundation for that is self-love and self-awareness. So that is what I focus on in my coaching practice. And I have a background in psychology, but I'm not a therapist. I like to focus on what is here now for people.
Awesome. Thank you, Anara. David Five, would you like to share a little bit about what you do?
Sure. I'm David, and I'm a business strategist and consultant with Hopeful Builder. My focus is to help businesses launch and work through some of the limiting beliefs that people have as they try and realize their business dreams. And the other part I like to do is help existing businesses find the next level, find and dig into their core competencies, and also work with them to have a better understanding of the marketplace they find themselves in and how they fit within that marketplace and the places, the niches and places where they can thrive. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you, David. Thank you everyone for your beautiful introductions. Without any further delay, let's get started. So today we would like to take a deep dive into the important and popular topic, habit. We want to offer some different ways to view the impact of the habit in our daily lives, as well as how we align our habits with what we say is important for us. And according to Macmillan Dictionary, habit is something that you do regularly and often without thinking about it. So, according to you, would you like to share in your definition what the habit is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, habit. When I think about some of the things that I was doing, and as we were talking just before we got on the call, I was sharing that there's just things that walk into my life that I experience as maybe joyful, or I get something from it, or possibly it gives me some ease or peace, or it comes in what I would say very innocently, and it just grabs a hold of whatever I'm doing, whether that be, having a dinner and wanting a nice little sweet piece of chocolate afterwards, or whether it be having a glass of wine, because I really like to have a glass of wine while I cook dinner. And this pattern begins to take hold of the way I think. And what I notice is that sooner or later, I can look back and see that it's taken form, moment to moment, day to day. And all of a sudden it's chocolate after dinner for the next, 6 or 7 months. And that's just a mindset of thinking. I'm looking at it like thought. And the habits that I form can serve me or can actually take me out of some of the stuff that I want to do. And so, what do you guys say?
Well, for me, when I was looking at this topic, I was amazed that we make these amazing computer brains we have make so many decisions a day. The number I saw was something like in the neighborhood of 40,000 decisions we make on either conscious or edge of consciousness decisions. And habits, for me, what I came to was that it's our brain's way of being efficient. It just has a little default path to a goal. You know, in your example, Kelly, like the chocolate, maybe making someone feel, you know, a connection, a reward for work done, something, whatever they're getting from the chocolate. And the brain just kind of sets out just a default that we don't even think about much anymore. We just reach for it. We don't think about it. It just happens. And we don't expend many of those 40,000 decisions on deciding if chocolate is actually good for us. So yeah, for me, the habits are just a deep groove inside our thought process that just takes us to a place without having to really engage a whole lot of our conscious mind.
And
yeah, agreed. I agree. Oh,
yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say, sometimes they're not even our own. They're habits that we formed from other people's dispositions, like parents.
Yeah, absolutely. Learned behaviors that we saw, and the groove that we got used to, that we saw, like coffee and sugar in the morning to wake us up, right? Rather than, oh, maybe a green smoothie or a run, you know, like how did our habits get formed? And I do believe that also they're coming from a deeper place within us. That I agree that our brain loves habit because it wants to feel safe and it wants to predict the future. So it knows that if it does this, then it'll get this, which will, you know, do that, right? So, and it's getting its needs met somehow. We're always getting our needs met. We might not like the habits that we're choosing to get our needs met, but we are looking for that safety inside of us, or in our brain, like predictive behavior, that soothing that comes with that piece of chocolate. Like, I know if I have that piece of chocolate, it's going to feel like this going down. It's a habit, so that soothes me right away, because habits are very soothing sometimes, even though they might be bad, right? We'll get into that. And also we might have a feeling of connection inside of ourselves, or a feeling of escape. And we do want to get these needs met. And those needs are going to get met regardless. We just have to, like you said, Kelly, maybe go up to the frontal lobes a little bit more to get those decisions about how we're choosing to get that met. Otherwise, we'll just default back to what we're used to get that need met. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I really like that each of you have a totally different point of view about habits. So can you please share with me why do we have a bad habit? I
can go for this one. Let me kick it off, and I'd like to really hear what everyone else has to say too. But I've been thinking a lot about this, and I guess I don't really like the judgment bad habit, because I think, as we said, we're just trying to get our needs met. We're kind of going through our day and trying to get it done. So yes, it's conditioned. Yes, it can be a learned way of doing things, like, oh, in our house, we always had tea in the morning and toast with jam on it. You know, that's what we do. And that's, you know, that feels good. I'm going to just keep doing it. But when I say, I think that there's some habits that we have underneath it that perhaps are coping behaviors or survival strategies. And these are what I work with my clients a little bit more, because those are, you don't even know if it's a habit or coping, because it started so long ago. Often the difference for me is when a coping started around an emotion that I didn't want to feel, or an adverse childhood experience that I wanted to block out. You know, it was kind of like conditioned to be away from pain. This is what I did to be away from pain. And so whatever that thing is, I'm not gonna see it as bad when a client comes to me. They might judge it as bad because they don't want to do it and they don't like the results. But not my job is not to judge a bad habit. It's just to kind of unpack it a little bit, to see and to find that place within them that was trying to meet that need for safety, for soothing, for freedom, or maybe even control or power or a connection, maybe even fun, right? Whatever they needed to do to feel good, and forget that piece. So I know I can give you an example of a bad habit of mine is that I shy away from videos and doing videos. And part of that is because a part of me became very quiet as a young child, and didn't feel safe to really say what I needed to say. So when I go out and say what I want to say, part of me is fighting myself. And my habit is to not fight myself, but to just do something easier, right? Just write or do a one-on-one session with somebody under the radar. So this is me breaking out of one of my habits I wanted to share with you. Yeah. So what do you guys think?
I'll just add one little piece to that from my perspective. Years ago, I read this yellow book about habits, camping, and the big takeaway that I had, the one gem I got was the brain the area of the brain that stores our habits does not know good habits from bad habits. It just is getting us to the thing, whatever that is. So it has no judgment. The brain has no judgment. The judgment comes from us deciding if it's good or bad in our conscious mind. But where it's stored, there is no good and bad. That one piece was like getting out of a cage. It was like a release, because when I came to that part, I was like, okay, so now I could just take it from the place as, does it serve me or not? And just be curious about why it's there, but not judge it. And by not judging it, I take away the energy, and I get to just, I don't know, for me, I get to feel a little bit more like the captain of the ship again, versus just really spinning on the energy of judgment of myself and my habit.
How about you, Kelly?
Yeah, I can, excuse me. I have similar views to both of you guys. And I'll take it even one step further. So Inara speaks about, someone coming in with a habit, and sometimes it's around a feeling that they don't feel good about this or that. And the question that some of the work that I do around subtractive psychology talks about feeling a feeling. And the feeling doesn't know, like Dave was saying, the feeling doesn't know about the problem or the food or the husband yelling or the daughter upsetting or the bus being missed. The feeling doesn't know anything about that. All the feeling knows about is thought in the moment to moment. It doesn't know about your toothbrush or the blade of grass or, how your job went that day. It just knows about thought in the moment to moment. And as Dave was saying, there's a really beautiful place that we get to see that thought for what it is, just a thought. And as if they were clouds, one thought comes in and it can be like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. And sometimes the pattern of habit is to grab that thought, stick it to ourselves, and create a whole pancake of more. And then if we can just witness as the witness to self, if I sit back and take a look, one step back and take a look at, wow, look at that, and then the next thought comes in and says, well, we need to do laundry at this time. And then the next thought comes in and says, get on it. And before you know it, I've moved from where I was in that feeling. And actually, I had it just the other day. I caught wind of a picture of someone that I was very much in love with for a long time. And the thought came in, and it was like, they were celebrating a 25-year marriage. And we had had a significant amount of time together. And immediately the thought came in, and I felt it deeply. And it was, oh, look at that. And then it was, yeah. And I just saw myself in the thinking of it. And it would have been so easy in my past, and trust me, I've been there, to fall right into the funnel and go, yeah, and look at where you are, and why didn't you, or whatever. And, this person and I are very good friends, yet I still had that feeling because there was some emotion connected to it. My brain of emotion was connected to that person, and still always will be. And, we have a very nice friendship now. But I saw myself, caught myself, didn't do anything about it, stepped back, and allowed that thought just to pass.
Wow. Thank you, Kelly. That's a very interesting way to look at the habit, like feeling at the moment. And I really like the share that Anara said before. I feel you right away, because I was the one who shied away from camera as well. Well, it's actually like there is no bad habit or good habit. Is about like the habit that serves it or the habit doesn't serve it. And our daily routine, I do believe our daily routine make a huge difference on how healthy, how happy, or how productive we are in our life. So can you please share, like, how can we align our habits that we say to what we say is important to us?
I'd love to tackle this one to start, if possible. And again, in looking at habits and looking at myself and how that fits for me, I think about fitness because it's a really important part of who I am. And I looked at kind of how I went on that journey, and in times that I was unsuccessful and successful, and I'll look at the unsuccessful time as a simple, I wanted to be fit, so I got a gym membership. I went to the gym. I worked out like a crazy person, thinking that if I could just get it done and get a result, that I would just ingrain this into who I am. And time again, that wouldn't work. So it wasn't until I took a step back, Kelly, and I looked at what little incremental changes could I make towards what I'll just call healthy lifestyle, and what little things I could do. And I think you refer to it as pancakes. I like pancakes, so let's go with that. And what pancakes I could push on my body to try and make little incremental changes. The quote I got was, "Small wins are the fuel for transformational change." And so it wasn't until I started to just focus on the little things that could serve me in this particular path, and what I needed to get that done. And as part of that was I needed a group of people around me to do it with me, in the beginning. And so I joined groups to do it with, and we had this shared challenge. That way I could, when on the days that I wasn't quite feeling it, I could kind of, I could kind of get the energy from the others. And then as I did it more and more, and I could get tips and tricks from people, and I could do the collective energy. And then what I found as I did it, I started picking up other positive things about me, little habits. Like I started getting up earlier to train. I started drinking more water. I started watching my food intake. I started moving to a more plant-based diet. I started being more open to inspiration from others and more influence. I started reading more articles about and learning more about this thing I was pursuing. And in doing that, and it took me a few years, but in doing that, I was able to make it part of who I am by a little bit at a time. And now that habit that I've formed of, let's call it running, has probably, and I don't even know if I could count it, but it might have 50 associated small habits now that get pulled along with it. So, which now form part of who I am and part of my character. So for me, habit change comes from the little bits, and towards a larger goal.
I can speak into that. I don't know. Kelly, are you ready to go? Do you
Oh,
want
you
to?
go, please.
Okay. I love that thought of aligning, right? The thought of aligning ourselves, our whole selves, not just our mind or not just a part of us that is kind of pushing us along to force it to align into what we think our best life should be, right? I really want to be whole in my life. And I think that when I listen to you, David, Dave, as I know you, that you were getting something before from not running. Maybe that was connection with pancakes or, connection with yourself. And that later you wanted a different strategy to get, you wanted to do a different behavior that would be more in alignment with how you saw yourself in your life. And that perhaps you started to shift and change into being like, okay, I want to do it with groups because I still want the connection. The need for connection is still there, and then you started connecting with the groups, connecting with the positivity, feeling that support before the support was coming from somewhere else that you've been conditioned to get it. And now all of a sudden this was juicier. This was more enlivening. This was like yum. And then you started to connect with yourself, your body, drinking more water, wanting, to support your body in a different way. So all of that just, incrementally, like you said, just and naturally aligned with this new way of being, which is gorgeous. And sometimes I connect with clients when they're in the middle of that path. And sometimes I connect with people when they can't do that thing anymore. So if for whatever reason they can't do the running anymore and they feel bereft, right? Because they're not getting the connection anymore or not getting what they were needing, the validation, the self-validation from that. And so we kind of move underneath whatever that habit behaviors were and to what is driving that. And yes, it can be thought, it can be choices, but I do believe that there are parts of us, pieces of us, like I mentioned before, that are being driven by something else, that even stop us from something else. And when we're able to drop into that a little bit and maybe give ourselves the connection or the validation without the behavior, then we're getting into self-mastery. Then we're kind of going, you know what, I can have the running, I can have the pancakes, I can have, and I can have connection to myself. I can be here with me without any of those things and sit with myself and love myself. And that to me has helped me with a lot of different situations. And I'm thinking of a few, but I'm gonna open the floor up a little bit so I don't hog.
No hogging, you go right ahead. Yeah. It's this open conversation, organic conversation. Thank you for that. I really heard you on the deeper dive into self. And I just want to read that question again. How do I align my habits with what I say is most important to me? So I think there's this divine alignment. If I could be so bold that there's a divinity in me that is at peace at all times. And when I am aligned with that wisdom, or Dave and I were talking earlier about, the inner wisdom, that place inside me that truly knows what's best for me, I think some of what I do, I can be undone. And some of the things that I call it falling away. And I have a question I ask myself at all times, which is, where do I believe this experience is coming from? And that question immediately ignites that place in me that I may not be aware of when I'm in the moment of a habit that has possibly consumed my thought pattern. And being able to see something deeper in the moment. And really, as Nara was saying, you're dropping in, you're doing a deeper dive into the things that, have been part of you for a long time. And being within yourself. So, just currently I've decided to do a cleanse because I was noticing some of what I was eating was causing me some internal trauma with regards to food and food habits. And so on this cleanse, my body is sending me all of these signals in a not so beautiful way, but such a beautiful unfolding to show me the clarity of what's right for my body and what isn't. And I can tell you honestly that my habits in the past, having had an eating disorder and having suffered from bulimia for a long time, I didn't have any concept of what my body was telling me because I literally was outside of I was over here looking at this person in complete denial and criticism. And so knowing that I'm having this experience, how I align myself is by being present. And what's most important to me always shows up in that moment. It just unfolds. When I'm present, I can feel the experiences. I'm aware of where my thinking is, and I can unfold what is true for me in the moment. Yeah.
Well, I love on the sharing.
So I'm going to just kind of throw a little curveball out there, if that's all right.
No.
I wanted to pose a question of my own here. Just on this topic of habits, and we're out here trying to not just talk about it for ourselves, but help everyone who will view this video. What habits have we taken on during the past few months during our shutdown that have served us? Or we could talk about maybe some that haven't, but can we talk to habits that maybe are new, or maybe an old habit dusted off and repurposed during shutdown?
Yeah.
Who's on first?
Yeah, that was a curveball, and that's good. I can take a shot at it, actually. I have a jackhammer going on outside. I hope it's not disturbing you guys. No, okay.
Yeah, no.
So I was invited into a group on Friday mornings that does a process called biospiritual focusing, or presencing is what I call it. And it was like my little island of solace every week as we sat together in group, and I was able to just go into my body and feel whatever was there for me. And I didn't know it from my head, right? Because my head, I was just managing, everything was fine. I worked from home, my husband works from home. So, our life was, there was some thoughts about the future and what it holds, and some danger thoughts, but there was generally, we were living a life that we were comfortable with and still are. But this Friday morning at 9 a.m., we got together and I could just go safely into whatever tension there was in me, whether it was in my mind or in my body, and I could slowly be with it. And that presence, that being able to drop into presence, the falling away, the tension melting, and just being able to see myself and give myself some space. If there was thoughts there, if there was emotions there, if there was a part there of me that felt like it needed me. And what I mean by these parts is I do believe that sometimes through trauma, we split off and a part of us goes into our mind and is lost to us. And yet it's controlling the show. In some ways, it's bookending what I can have, what feels comfortable, what doesn't feel. And this creates some inner conflict in me sometimes. Like when one part of me wants to do this and one part of me wants to do that. Yeah. So being able to give space to that and let it unfold without trying to fix it, without trying to blame it, without judging it or analyzing it, just letting it be and me being with it, which sounds odd, right? Me being with me. But actually, it's been a lifesaver. And it's a habit that, man, I am holding on to, which is why I came on to, so that's what I was doing before I got on here.
Thank you, Anaris. What about you, Kelly?
Yeah, thank you for that. I don't know about the rest of you, but I felt very deeply connected to you while you were sharing that, and very present with your experience in it. So thank you for sharing that. As I listen and witness, what you're doing, there's a feeling that happens when we're all present, especially even in these conversations that we post live, where my head can take me into a place that's, busy. I call it the snow globe, and I think, Inara, what you're pointing to is that place where we just get settled. And when we see that snow globe settle, all things fall away, and I can be with myself in that. And that's what I was hearing there with you. So thank you for the reminder. There's an experience that I've been, I have to say, it's kind of interesting and not so much really, but it never surprises me how closely related we are to our own circumstances and experiences. So when you were sharing, and coined it as well, about being, sort of scared to come out or be out front or be, in this place of live, my whole life was running from self. And I was always in the shadows. I was always hanging in the back, even though everybody thought I could be in the forefront. I was always, I was the one who flew in, said, "Hey, how's it going?" And then flew out, and everybody's like, "Oh, which way did she go?" I was gone because I was scared of myself. And what I find ironic is, after doing some of this work and this training in, the coaching that I did started 6 years ago, and then some of this new learning that I've been doing, what happened during COVID was March came and the entire, full closure happened. And I was ignited. I was ignited out of the shadows, saying, okay, that, somewhere in my thinking said, this is where we've got to get going. And I started my first class. I launched my class in that. And what that gave me was connection. It gave me peace of mind that I had something to do, because I was concerned about my current work, which was closed down. And then having people to talk with, all on these cool subjects, relatable subjects. And so it totally aligned with my purpose. And I love the word you said, alignment, because I think when I'm there and I'm offering who I really am, who I truly am, which I wasn't for a very long time through circumstances, out of my control, menopause and other things, jobs closures, COVID, I wasn't being myself. And so I started that program and connected with people of like mind. And then I also did something similar. I started Yoga Nidra. And one of my clients taught Yoga Nidra, and Yoga Nidra is similar to that place where you fall into self and really experience yourself. So every Thursday at 7:30, I'm in this classroom doing something very unique and different. And I just loved it. And I've been there ever since. And so I think if I could be so bold to say, what I was hearing was that you were feeling something, because I know for me, I fell into a really beautiful, warm feeling. And that's when the habit says, this is right. This is beautiful. This is feeling beautiful. And it's that feeling that tells me I'm aligned. And when I'm out of that feeling, that's when I know I'm in something that needs to shift or change. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful that you feel aligned with yourself and found a new habit, took the courage that started your classes. That's really nice. Like Catalyst habits serve you.
I'll just add my part. Just what we went through when COVID began. So I work as a manufacturer's agent, which is my primary way being and eating and having shelter and all that good stuff. So when COVID hit and the full shutdown hit, now of course my client, the factory I primarily work with is in Winnipeg, and the clients are people like Costco and Canadian Tire and Walmart and those guys. And so of course everyone was impacted, and of course my email is full of panic and other varying degrees of panic, and then of course I also am panicking. So what from that place of and if I had to contrast that, leading up to COVID, we were having a record year. We were having the best year in business. I've been in business for 10 years, and we were having by far setting up to have the best year ever. So basically whack, and I'm not alone in the world. Absolutely not saying I am. But that's my world. And so basically I took a step back again, Telly, and do I owe you $1 every time I say that? Anyway,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I just said, okay, what's the one thing I can control at this moment? And for whatever reason, I decided, it's water in this cup. I decided I can control water. And so I did. I just went, okay, I can control the amount of water I drink in a day. And I just kind of went building block by building block, and just kind of, because there was that tendency to go into a dark place of thinking. And then within that dark place of thinking, go into some old habits that I have that are still living in this noggin of mine that are still accessible to me. And, and rather than do that, just pick one thing and then just stick with it. And for me, it was drink water. And other people were reaching out to me for support, that were also looking for me for guidance. And that's all I could offer them at the time: drink water, and control how much water you take in a day. Because really right now, there's nothing we can control. Well, it felt like it, sorry. It felt like everything was just swirling and out of control. So it was just one piece at a time. And then we took on, we started to, I figured, well, let's start building on that. And so we started doing more things. We started taking meat out of our diet. We started doing other pieces of positive new habits that were there. And we just sort of, instead of doubling down on the bad habits, we started doubling down on the good habits. So we just started doubling down on good habits that would serve us, knowing that there was going to be challenges that we're going to face. The challenges will be there, but just trying to take care of us, as much as we can, to be as dynamic as possible to face whatever was going to come, because we can't control that side of it. So anyway, and then one other habit I picked up that's stuck is I can't speak for anybody else, but I get pretty curious about the news and what's going on in the world. And so I found I was spending a disproportionate amount of my time really trying to figure out what was going on with the virus and things and the political ramifications around the world. And that can be a 24/7 preoccupation. So I found that I had this stack of books that had started accumulating. So I started to just go, okay, before I do this, I'm going to pick up that book and I'm just going to read a chapter of a book. And it really became the antidote to that. It really became the balancing factor. Even if I spent 50 minutes in that place of deep learning, similar to what both of you talked about, for me, it was just kind of going mentally into a new place of, reminding myself of what's important. And it just became almost a fear antidote to what was going on in the world. I mean, I still check it out, but the percentage of time that I spend looking at those things is probably 90% less now that I've just took up that one little habit each day. It's the first thing I do now. The first thing I do is take my coffee, watch YouTube, and see what is going on in the world. Now I take my coffee and I open a book that serves me, and not that stuff. It works well.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for your beautiful shares and heartfelt shares. I'm sure that our audience gets some benefit out of this with all of your kinds of perspective. And everyone, if you would like to check out what Anara and Kelly and David do, I will put the link of their website and social media in the comments so you can check them out. And thank you, our guest, for being here today. I'm sure I learned a lot today. And before we leave, I would like to leave it for you. You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine, said by John Maxwell. Thank you everyone for tuning in today with us, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. Feel free to share if maybe someone in your circle might need it. Thank you very much.